turn to Mary C. Curtis from Charlotte, North Carolina. She's a columnist for the political newspaper Roll Call and the host of the Equal Time podcast. Mary, welcome to the program. We've seen this sadly, you know, I know, everyone knows, time after time, a white gunman deliberately targeting members of a specific community. We've seen Latinos, Muslims, Jewish community, now the Black community in Buffalo targeted. And it seems it's only getting worse. Why, Mary?
Well, I was happy that the president did go there and call out white supremacy by name. And he called it a poison. But, you know, when he says this isn't who we are, well, we have to take a look at that statement. I'm also glad he mentioned each by name and said something about them. These are human beings. And of course, when we hear about these mass killings, it's as if somehow they lose their humanity. That's why an 18-year-old thought it was good to go and shoot these people just doing their Saturday afternoon shopping. Why is it? Well, I do think there is a movement that people think America is a zero sum, that if other people are rising and getting more opportunities, that it takes away from them. And it doesn't help that it's echoed in some media echo chambers, and people only go to those sources that back up what they believe. And of course, it's so available on the internet. And then we have some of our leaders who sand off the rough edges of this conspiracy, replacement conspiracy theory, but they do lean into it. And they echo some of these same lies and same conspiracies about that America is changing.
You know, Mary, you bring up a really good point, and that leads me to my next question. You know, you see it from some Republican politicians, right-wing radio, people like Tucker Carlson on Fox News. I'm just wondering if their disinformation, their lies, this notion of white supremacy being the best, somehow superior to the rest of us, that in some fashion, does it embolden people like these perpetrators?
Well, of course, I wouldn't say that these people are to blame for spreading these messages for this particular bit of violence. But you do see their words echoed by these people who are consuming it. So I believe, even though now so many are backing away from it, that they have to take some responsibility, as well as these politicians who aren't denouncing this strongly, aren't renouncing it, and are still portraying some white Americans as the victim. And we see, as you know, that this is global. This shooter quoted the Christchurch, New Zealand shooter. They held up Dylan Roof, who shot the parishioners in Charleston. We saw Norway, as you mentioned, El Paso, the Tree of Life, which went after a Jewish synagogue. So they are in contact with one another.
Talk about this great replacement theory. And to be honest with you, I'd never heard of this before, this notion that the white race is under threat. Where is that rooted? Where did this even come from?
Well, it's been around for quite a long time. If you look, even there were politicians in the 1950s and 60s who were saying this, and there was a French writer who was saying these kinds of things, talking about African and Arab immigrants. And yes, when there is economic turmoil in particular, they are looking for someone to scapegoat and blame. And also part of this great replacement conspiracy theory is that there are elites or in some cases, Jews they are blaming, as you heard in Charlottesville, Jews will not replace us, and the left that are pulling the strings somehow in order to get electoral power. And let's be clear, this is a myth. But, you know, people who look at it and consume it, there's a poll that showed that 1/3 of Americans and nearly half of Republicans believe somewhat in this theory. So I believe that the 2/3 who don't believe in it are really going to have to stand up.
Okay, so I guess the question is that so many of us are asking, how do we end this? What is the solution to put an end to this killing rampage by this new generation of white supremacists who are radicalized by lies and misinformation?
Well, as I said before, the people have to put democracy at the top of their list. and realize that, we are not that old a democracy in America, and it is at risk. So the people have to not be silent and stand up, and our leaders have to stand up and renounce it and realize that words matter. Because as your correspondent said, regulating guns and the internet, that's very difficult in this country.
All right, Mary, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.